the appointment of Makuei could be a double-edged sword
Right.
in the sense that it could be what is needed maybe to break a compromise and maybe have this case
Right.
dropped or withdrawn altogether, and Riek Machar reinstated as the first vice president of South Sudan.
Right.
But also, there is the possibility of the exact opposite, which could mean, for example, maybe he is found guilty and he's sentenced to maybe life in prison, or he is executed, or he is exiled again. Do
Right.
you see this as the best scenario or worst case scenario that could happen?
Um, I, I think if they are to make an influence into this case, and then which is meant to maybe come up with a verdict and finds Machar guilty, then they will be left with only one option. The only option that is close to not being seen bad is maybe to exile him. But again, I think that that's going to be like not in favor of so many people. Machar really has a very, very huge command in the country. I mean, he has a very huge and grassroots command. So uh, but if they try to come up with that, so we're likely to see the country being destabilized again in different areas. And yeah, but if I was Kir, I think I would just withdraw the case. The state, I'll task Makuei to make a statement and follow the right procedures and withdraw the case and just dismiss it and then reinstate Machar back. Perhaps, and maybe also that is the advice that he's getting from his advisors, maybe to take that direction. But as I said, yeah, it's a double-edged thing. So we might see it happen in the positive way in favor of Machar or against him. So we until the decision is made, it's hard for us to tell what this is going to be. Yeah.
I agree, and I think that, for example, if you're sitting on the other side of the aisle, and say, for example, that the court actually finds Riek Machar guilty of the crimes that he's been charged with, and say maybe he is pardoned by the president, or basically not sentenced at all, wouldn't that be unfair, especially to those that he has, to those that have lost their lives in the Nasir incident? Oh,
Um, yeah, I think it would look so, but also as a leader, you have President Kiir has, I mean, within his powers to pardon any other person. But I'm looking at that as being the wise decision to either continue with the prosecution and finds my child guilty, and then he goes on and pardons him and like make that pardon for him. I mean, it makes him look like a saint. I mean, it makes him like someone who he will come out, like people will see that, you see, he has been charged, was found guilty, he committed this crime, but the president came out and pardoned him. So I mean, he'll garner a lot of support and sympathy from the entire country. But I think it will also be unfair to the lives of those who were lost. Perhaps but to do that, they can as well generate a body of people who can do a compensation for the lives that were lost in Nasir. So they can initiate that, and if they are really serious about that, they can set up a team that can work towards the compensation of the victims of the Nasir incident. So they can time it that way, and then you compensate them, the families and relatives of those who were killed in the Nasser incident. But then, yeah, I think that's totally up to President Kiir. He has the right to do that. But I think the only good thing that is good for just to create the perception in the eyes of the public is to continue with the case, but then influence maybe the judiciary, of which I don't advise to really do it, and come out with a verdict that Machar is not guilty. I think that is the most wise thing to do. You don't have to dismiss the case, one, If you dismiss the case, it will first look like you have wasted state resources in in initiating a prosecution which you do not want to sustain. You'd have wasted the state resources in doing that. And second of all, uh, it doesn't really give the government a very good image. If you started something and then at the end of the day you withdraw it, it doesn't give you a very good makes you put you in a good place. So suspending the case to me is not the best idea, or dismissing it is not a best idea. And charging Machar with with I mean finding him guilty and then want him to face the penalty for that, which is either execution or life imprisonment, it's not a wise decision either. um, uh, Charging, I mean, finding him guilty and exiling him might be kind of. I would say it's a middle kind of thing. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either. So it can do that. But I think the best thing to do is to run the entire process up to the end, and just insert some kind of influence somewhere, and that finds Machar not guilty. And when Machar is found not guilty, they reinstate him back. It makes the public believe that he has never done anything during the Nasir incident, but also that the government has not wasted resources in prosecuting him. They have done it up to the end, but the courts has found that he is not guilty. He is a free man. I think that is the best decision that they can do. But still, the government can look for ways on how to compensate the victims of the Nasir incident. They can work together with the opposition, after reinstating Machar, and compensate the victims of the Nasir incident. Yeah, I think that's the wise decisions to do.
That is very interesting.
All right.
Yeah, because for me, I think I feel that the trial of Riek Machar is a test of judicial independence in South Sudan. And if ever there is such influences as, for example, you are suggesting, I think this could be the thing that either breaks the trust of the public in these institutions, or that maybe either encourages or cultivates trust in these institutions.
Mhm.
And I think, for me, not as a politician, I would think that if the court can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that actually Machar is guilty or not guilty, that would be the best outcome. If the public is 100% convinced and the court is also convinced, whatever the verdict, it can
Yeah,
play a very critical role in
yeah,
building trust in these institutions.
I think that that's right. I mean, so many people have always seen the trial of Machar as a test for the judicial system of the country, and yeah, of course, like, I mean, there's no doubt that the judiciary or the court can still act independently without the influence of it. But as I said, that if I really don't, my own observation, and I've been following that case, but I don't really see that. I feel like most of the charges that were made are really politically um, generated, and they're just meant to taint the image of Machar, and that's my own observation. And I feel that if the judiciary is actually given a platform to act independently and with sober mind, I think they would really let Machar come out as a free person, as a free man. And then I think that's an absolute decision that is likely to happen. I mean, uh, the possibility of the judiciary, if given the space to act independently, they are likely to come out with a verdict that declares Machar as a free person, and that's likely to happen. But yeah, as I said before, I really don't encourage the government to influence the judiciary. But if they must, I think, but I don't think they will ever. There is a need for them to influence the decisions of the judiciary. But even the judiciary, if they're given to act independently, I think, based on the evidence raised and all the claims, I think Machar and his colleagues might come out as free people. Yeah.
Right. So if I get you well, in your own opinion, you would think that this is more of a political witch hunt than actually any case that
That's
exists
that's
against
that's my
Machar.
observation. That's according to my opinion. That's what I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it, and I think with the current, you can easily see it from the current shift in the positions in the government. I mean, you know, the people, the charges were made when Bolmel was the vice president, economic cluster, and when the other guy was the minister of justice. And you know, why has it happened that these people were taken out at the same time and a new person? So I mean, I think some of the decisions that actually informs the decrease passed, I think, are really based on the ongoing trial of Machar, perhaps. So we are likely to see really a very different shift in the next few days regarding the case of Machar, especially with the new people coming in power. Yeah, because
Interesting.
if I feel like if they really intend to keep on with this case of Machar, there's no need to change the minister. I mean, why change the minister? He is the one who initiated this. He is like the attorney general. He has probably better information and knowledge of how all this is started. So it's in a very critical stage that you don't need to change that person really, because the stage at which the case is, you don't need to change bring in some kind of instability within the ministry. You should have kept that guy to just continue with the consistency of the case. But suddenly he decided to change it. So I think that clearly tells us that there's likelihood of it changing, and perhaps it will be in a positive way. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So, back to the issue of the appointment of Makuei as the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Have there been any statements yet from the lawyers of Riek Machar with regard to this appointment? Or how are they reacting?
I I haven't read any reaction from the defense team, but and also the silence speaks a lot. I mean, because I've seen that I've seen this circulating online about I can't confirm if it is true, but I'm seeing ongoing debate about Machar Kiir having like a private meeting with Machar. There's ongoing meeting, and there are plans of reinstating Machar, and this has been really ongoing on the social media. And since the appointment of Makuei to the justice, I've not seen any reaction from the defense team regarding that changes. And that perhaps will tell us that perhaps there's something going underground about this case that we might not understand. It can only be understood in the next few days when it actually takes the direction. So until that time, I think it's hard for us to tell exactly what these intentions are for the new appointments.